Stop memorizing, start flowing. The rhythm of English. From blocks to flow. Most learners approach English like a list of facts to be memorized. They collect words, copy phrases, repeat dialogues from books, and yet when the moment comes to speak, they freeze. Their mind searches for the exact phrase they studied, but it never arrives on time. The silence stretches, the rhythm collapses, and the conversation slips away. This is the tragedy of memorization. It fills your head but empties your voice. If you want to speak English naturally, you must stop memorizing and start flowing. Think of how you listen to music. You don't memorize each note before enjoying a song. You feel the rhythm, you recognize the melody, you move with it. Language is no different. English has its own rhythm, its own beat, its own rise and fall. When you capture that rhythm, fluency follows. When you ignore it, your speech feels robotic, broken, unnatural. The secret is not in memorizing more, but in letting your words ride the rhythm that already exists inside English. Imagine a child learning to speak. They do not sit with notebooks. They listen. They repeat. They play with sounds. They speak with rhythm long before they master vocabulary. That is why, even with limited words, a child's speech feels alive. Adults forget this. We replace rhythm with rules, flow with memorization. We believe fluency comes from remembering, when in reality fluency comes from releasing. You have probably noticed this before. When a native speaker talks quickly, you may not catch every word, but you still understand the message. Why? Because your brain is following the rhythm, the rise and fall of intonation, the melody that carries meaning beyond the exact words. This is the key you've been missing. If you stop obsessing over memorization and instead train your ear and your voice to feel that flow, your English begins to transform. In the next 30 days, you can make this shift. You can reprogram the way you approach English. Each day, instead of stacking new words in memory, you will practice rhythm. You will listen to short sentences and repeat them not word by word, but sound by sound, breath by breath, until you feel the melody. You will stop thinking like a student and start performing like a musician, letting your English move with natural cadence. This is not about ignoring vocabulary. Words matter, but they are not the foundation. Rhythm is. Once you have rhythm, any new word fits inside your speech like a new note in a familiar song. Without rhythm, even common words sound awkward. That is why some learners with large vocabularies still sound unnatural, while others with few words sound confident. Rhythm makes the difference. Picture yourself after a few weeks of practicing flow. You meet someone and instead of freezing, you let your voice move. You may not have the perfect phrase, but you say what you can with rhythm, and suddenly it works. The listener understands, the conversation continues, and you feel a surge of confidence. That is the breakthrough. You realize fluency is not about knowing everything, but about flowing with what you know. This is the journey we begin now. A journey where we leave behind the heavy burden of memorization and step into the lightness of rhythm, where silence turns into sound, and words no longer sit trapped in your mind, but move freely through your voice. This is your invitation to stop memorizing, start flowing, and discover the rhythm of English that has been waiting for you all along. The music hidden inside English. Every language carries a sound that goes beyond words, a hidden music that shapes the way people speak. English, perhaps more than any other, reveals itself as a rhythm, a pulse, a constant movement between stressed and unstressed beats. If you have ever listened to native speakers and wondered why they sound so fluid even when they speak fast, the answer is not only vocabulary, it is rhythm. They ride the beat of the language the same way a musician rides the beat of a song. To understand English deeply, you must first learn to hear its music. Think about the way English stretches and compresses sounds. Some syllables are longer, some are shorter, some rise, and some fall. This is not random. It is a pattern that gives English its natural flow. Without it, even correct sentences sound robotic. You can memorize every word in a phrase like, "What are you going to do today?" But if you say each word with equal weight, it will not sound natural. A native speaker compresses it. "What you gonna do today?" It is the rhythm that transforms the sentence into living speech. When you focus on rhythm, you stop being trapped by words. You begin to feel the pulse of English. Listen carefully, and you will notice how natives group words together, almost like clusters of sounds. They do not pause after every word. They move forward, letting stress and intonation carry meaning. This is why, even when you miss words, you still understand the message. The music of the language guides you. If you train your ear to follow it, your comprehension improves instantly. Now imagine yourself speaking. Instead of memorizing a phrase and struggling to reproduce it perfectly, you imitate the rhythm. You do not say each word slowly, like reading from a textbook. You let your voice rise and fall, stretch and shorten. Copy the beat you have heard. Suddenly, your English feels different. Even with simple words, it flows. People respond to that flow. They hear confidence, not hesitation. This is the secret that advanced learners often forget to share. They may tell you to study grammar or increase your vocabulary, but few mention that rhythm is the foundation of fluency. Without rhythm, you can study for years and still feel blocked. With rhythm, even a small amount of language becomes powerful. Think of a musician who knows only a few chords, but plays them with rhythm. The music is simple, but it moves people. Language works the same way. So how do you train this hidden music? You must listen actively not just to words, but to the flow between them. Choose short audio clips and repeat them as if they were melodies. Do not worry if you miss words at first. Focus on the stress, the intonation, the pauses. Copy the melody. Feel how the language breathes. When you practice like this, your brain begins to map English not as a set of rules, but as a song it already knows how to hum. You may resist at first. You may think, "Shouldn't I be learning more vocabulary?" But remember, without rhythm, vocabulary is just noise. Rhythm is the container that makes every new word useful. If you master the container, you can pour new words into it any time. If you ignore it, your words will spill, and your sentences will break apart. This is why rhythm is not decoration. It is structure. It is the skeleton of fluency. By the end of this stage, you will notice a strange but powerful change. You will begin to catch the beat of English in movies, songs, and conversations. You will tap your foot as if listening to music. You will speak a short phrase and feel the flow in your own voice. This is not memorization. This is rhythm taking root inside you. Once you feel it, you cannot lose it. It becomes the foundation of every word you speak from this point forward. The hidden music of English has always been there, waiting for you to hear it. And once you hear it, you will never listen to English the same way again. From now on, you are not just a learner. You are a performer, stepping into the rhythm of the language, ready to let it carry you forward. Breaking the chains of memorization. Most learners carry invisible chains. These chains are built from years of being told that the only way to learn English is to memorize. Memorize lists of irregular verbs. Memorize entire dialogues. Memorize phrases as if they were mathematical formulas. At first it seems safe. You believe that if you store enough lines in your head, you will be prepared for any situation. But the truth arrives the moment you try to speak with a real person. The words do not come. The chains tighten. You feel trapped inside your own memory. Memorization creates the illusion of knowledge, but not the reality of fluency. When you recite a phrase from memory, you are repeating a script. But conversation is not a script. It is unpredictable, alive, full of twists. No matter how many lines you memorize, reality will throw you a curve you did not study. Then what happens? Silence. Panic. The chain of memorization breaks under pressure, leaving you with nothing. That is why so many learners feel confident alone with their books, but collapse in front of people. Breaking free from memorization does not mean rejecting practice. It means replacing the method. Instead of storing entire sentences as rigid blocks, you learn small building pieces and let rhythm guide how you combine them. Think of English as Lego bricks. If you only memorize a finished model, you can show it once, but you cannot adapt it. If you master the pieces, you can build anything. This flexibility is fluency. For example, instead of memorizing, "Can I have a glass of water, please?" as one frozen phrase, you learn the pieces. "Can I have," and "a glass of," then add different endings. "Can I have a coffee?" "Can I have a minute?" "Can I have your phone number?" With this structure and rhythm, you multiply your possibilities. One pattern, endless applications. This is how you escape the prison of memorization and step into freedom of flow. The chains of memorization also affect listening. When you expect exact phrases, you panic when natives shorten or blend them. You studied "going to," but they say "gonna." You memorized "want to," but they say "wanna." Your brain rejects what it did not memorize, and comprehension fails. Rhythm solves this. When you train rhythm, you expect blending, compression, and shortcuts. You hear "gonna" and instantly recognize the beat. Your brain adapts, and the chains break. There is also a psychological chain. Memorization teaches you to fear mistakes. If you forget the exact phrase, you feel lost, you hesitate, you freeze. But when you abandon memorization, you allow yourself to improvise. You say what you can with what you have. You circle around missing words. You invent solutions. This is communication. And each time you succeed, even imperfectly, your confidence grows. Breaking these chains requires courage. It feels strange at first. You may feel naked without your lists and scripts, but soon you realize that memorization was not protection. It was a cage. Once you step outside, you breathe easier. Your English may not be perfect, but it is alive. And living English is always stronger than dead memorized lines. Imagine walking into a store. The memorizer repeats silently, "Can I have? Can I have?" But the shopkeeper says something unexpected and panic arrives. The fluent learner, trained in flow, hears the rhythm, adapts, and responds with confidence, even if the words are simple. That difference is everything. One is chained, the other is free. By the end of this stage, you must make a decision. Will you continue carrying the weight of memorization, or will you drop it and trust rhythm to carry you forward? If you choose rhythm, you will feel lighter. Words will come easier. Sentences will shape themselves. And you will realize that fluency is not about remembering perfectly. It is about flowing naturally. The chains are imaginary. Break them, and English becomes yours. Flow exercises, training rhythm in real life. Fluency is not born in silence or in theory. It is trained through repetition, imitation, and rhythm. To stop memorizing and start flowing, you need exercises that connect sound, body, and emotion. This is where practice becomes alive. The goal is not to study English like a subject, but to live it like a performance. Each exercise is a rehearsal, each repetition a step into the rhythm of the language. The first exercise is shadowing. Imagine walking beside a native speaker's voice, step by step. You listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately, copying not only the words but the melody, the pauses, the emphasis. At first it feels impossible, like chasing a moving train. But day by day, your tongue begins to move faster, your ear sharpens, your voice finds the same beat. Shadowing transforms you from a silent student into a participant in the music of English. It is not memorization, because you are not storing lines, you are synchronizing with rhythm. The second exercise is echo reading. Choose a short dialogue or story. Read it aloud right after listening, almost like singing in harmony. Do not worry about perfection. Focus on sound, on letting your voice ride the waves of intonation. This exercise is powerful because it removes the pressure of creating sentences. You are free to focus entirely on rhythm. After a few sessions, you notice your speech feels smoother, your breathing more natural. You are no longer forcing words. You are flowing. The third exercise is rhythm mimicry with music. Take an English song with clear lyrics and repeat small parts, not to memorize but to imitate rhythm. You do not need to understand every word. What matters is feeling how the language stretches and compresses inside the beat. Music is the purest form of rhythm, and when you train with it, your English voice becomes musical too. Even short choruses, repeated daily, unlock confidence and natural cadence. The fourth exercise is self-talk with rhythm. Many learners already talk to themselves in English, but they do it mechanically. Instead, focus on rhythm. Say simple sentences with rise and fall, as if you were telling a story to a friend. I woke up late, I rushed to the bus, I almost missed it. The content is simple, but the delivery is alive. When you speak this way, you trick your brain into believing you are in real conversation. The more you practice, the more natural your English becomes. The fifth exercise is flow journaling aloud. At the end of the day, write a few lines about your experiences and then read them aloud with rhythm. Pretend you are narrating a scene in a movie. Do not flatten your voice. Give it energy, emotion, rise and fall. This practice unites writing, speaking, and rhythm. Over time, your written English begins to mirror the natural flow of spoken English, and your spoken English gains clarity from the structure of writing. The final exercise is conversation improvisation. Take a single phrase like, "What are you doing?" and expand it into variations. What are you doing now? What are you doing tonight? What are you doing this weekend? Play with the rhythm of each. Then push further. What are you planning? What are you thinking? Improvisation trains flexibility. You stop waiting for memorized lines and start trusting your ability to build sentences on the fly. This is the essence of flow. All these exercises share one truth. They are not about learning more words. They are about transforming how you use the words you already know. When you repeat them daily, you create muscle memory. Your tongue, your lips, your breath begin to align with the rhythm of English. You do not think about it, you feel it. That feeling is the bridge to fluency. Imagine yourself after 2 weeks of flow training. You are on a call, and instead of freezing, your voice moves. You say what you can, and it sounds natural. The listener understands, you continue. And for the first time you feel like you belong inside the conversation. That confidence is worth more than 1,000 memorized phrases. By practicing rhythm in real life, you stop being a collector of words and become a speaker of English. The exercises are simple, but the transformation they create is profound. Each repetition is a step toward fluency. Each moment of flow is proof that you no longer need chains of memorization. You are free to speak, free to express, free to live in English, from silence to confidence. There is a moment every learner dreads, the silence. You are asked a simple question in English, and your mind goes blank. The words are in your memory, yet they do not come. The silence grows heavy, and with it, shame. This silence is the child of memorization. When you depend on perfect recall, you freeze the moment reality does not match your script. To break this silence, you must learn to flow. And when you begin to flow, silence turns into sound, and sound turns into confidence. Confidence does not arrive when you know everything. It arrives when you learn to use what you have. Even a small set of words, spoken with rhythm, creates communication. Think of a drummer who knows only a few beats but plays them with strength. The music feels alive. In the same way, when you speak simple English with rhythm, you sound more natural than someone with thousands of memorized words but no flow. Fluency is not a dictionary in your head. It is the courage to let words come out imperfectly yet alive. The first step from silence to confidence is acceptance. Accept that you will not speak perfectly. Accept that you will forget words. Accept that you will make mistakes. This acceptance is freedom. Once you remove the fear of being wrong, you can start speaking. Each sentence, no matter how broken, becomes a victory. Each attempt builds a layer of confidence, and confidence compounds. The more you speak, the stronger you feel. The stronger you feel, the more you speak. Another key is improvisation. When you do not remember a word, do not stop. Circle around it. Replace it with another. Use your hands, your tone, your creativity. Native speakers do this all the time, even in their own language. They say, "It's like, the thing," and continue. Communication is not about perfection. It is about movement. The moment you realize you can keep moving, even without the exact word, the silence loses its power. Confidence also grows through rhythm. When your speech has rhythm, listeners pay more attention to the flow than to individual mistakes. You might drop an ending or mispronounce a word, but if the rhythm is intact, the message carries. People respond to rhythm instinctively, the way they respond to music. This is why many learners report being understood more easily after practicing intonation, even if their grammar is basic. Rhythm makes your English believable. Visualization can help too. Imagine yourself before a conversation. Picture the flow, not the exact sentences. Hear your own voice rising and falling with rhythm. See yourself responding without fear. The brain does not separate imagination from reality. If you rehearse confidence in your mind, it appears more easily in real life. Athletes use this technique before competitions. Language learners can do the same. Confidence is a state of mind you can practice. Now consider the transformation after 30 days of rhythm training. At the start, silence dominated. Each interaction felt like a test you were doomed to fail. But now, you respond. Maybe not with perfect grammar, but with flow. You smile, you breathe, you continue. The silence is gone. In its place stands a voice, imperfect yet real, carrying you forward. That voice is your freedom. That voice is your identity in English taking shape. The true measure of progress is not the number of words you know, but the number of silences you break. Each time you replace hesitation with speech, you rewrite your story. You are no longer the learner who waits. You are the speaker who acts. And once you taste that confidence, you will not return to silence. You will keep flowing, because flowing feels alive. This chapter is the turning point. The moment you step out of silence and into sound, out of fear and into confidence. Memorization cannot give you this. Only rhythm can. And once you find it, your English is no longer just practice. It is performance. It is communication. It is life. Living the flow, redefining your English identity. At the beginning of this journey, English was something outside of you, a subject to study, a challenge to overcome, a mountain of words and rules to memorize. But now, after 30 days of shifting from memorization to rhythm, from silence to flow, you have entered a different reality. English is no longer an object. It is a part of your identity. You have stepped into a version of yourself who does not just learn English but lives it. This is the breakthrough moment where the language stops being a task and becomes a voice inside you. Living the flow means carrying English into your daily life, not as an obligation, but as a natural rhythm. When you think of something simple, you find yourself whispering it in English. When you listen to a song, you no longer hear noise. You hear patterns, beats, familiar phrases. When you watch a movie, You catch intonation, you copy expressions, you feel yourself inside the dialogue. This is not studying. This is identity. It is the moment when you stop asking, "Am I ready to speak?" because you are already speaking. Your new identity is not flawless, but it is free. You do not measure your value in how many grammar rules you remember. You measure it in how naturally you can express yourself, even with limited words. You do not fear mistakes because you understand they are signs of growth. You do not fear conversations because you know rhythm carries you. This freedom transforms your relationship with English. What was once stress becomes energy. What was once memorization becomes creativity. This change also reshapes how others see you. When you speak with rhythm, people listen differently. They hear confidence. They sense fluency. They engage with you. Even if your vocabulary is simple, the way you deliver it convinces them. Communication is not about impressing with complexity. It is about connecting with flow. And once you connect, you belong. That belonging is the core of identity. You are no longer outside of English culture, knocking on the door. You are inside, participating, contributing, living. Living the flow also means carrying momentum beyond these 30 days. You have discovered a method that does not end. Rhythm never runs out. Every conversation, every video, every song becomes practice. You do not need to force yourself to memorize. You only need to keep flowing. The more you flow, the more you grow. This is not a sprint followed by exhaustion. It is a rhythm that can carry you for years, until fluency is no longer a goal, but a natural state. The most important realization is that identity drives fluency more than effort alone. When you see yourself as someone who speaks English, you act accordingly. You seek opportunities, you take risks, you celebrate progress. Each action reinforces the identity, and each reinforcement deepens your fluency. This is why 30 days can change everything. Not because you master the entire language, but because you redefine who you are in relation to it. You stop being a student on the outside and become a speaker on the inside. Picture yourself looking back on day 1. You were hesitant, chained to memorization, waiting for the right words. Now, you flow. You may not know everything, but you know enough to move, to connect, to live in English. That is the essence of fluency. Not perfection, but presence. Not memorization, but rhythm. Not silence, but sound. From this moment forward, your task is not to chase fluency as if it were far away. It is to live the flow daily, to keep rhythm in your ear, in your voice, in your heart, to trust that each word, each phrase, each conversation adds another layer to your identity. You are not just learning English, you are becoming English speaking. And that change is permanent. The rhythm is inside you now. All you have to do is keep flowing.